Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So friends, this isn't my usual daily Justice Matters video. I'll be doing that later today as we continue to plow through the different parts of the new Supreme Court opinion announcing that an American president is now essentially a king, a monarch, is for the most part above and beyond the reach of the laws of our nation. But I just wanted to take a minute to kind of get this down on paper, I would say, but I guess not on paper, but on video. I don't know about you, but I didn't sleep much last night, sort of tossing and turning in this new lesser America the Supreme Court has just inflicted on us. One of the reasons I didn't sleep much was, well, because I knew I'd have to get up at 3 a.m. to drive into D.C. at 4 a.m. to be on way too early on MSNBC at 5 a.m. And yes, it is way too early. But when I was asked this morning on air what I make of this new Supreme Court opinion bestowing, near absolute presidential immunity on criminal presidents of the United States, I tried to do a top-line overview or takeaway, and with your kind permission, I want to just share that with you, and then later today I'll put up my daily Justice Matters video proper. And here are my sort of top-line takeaway thoughts. With one opinion, the Supreme Court has converted the United States of America into a sort of banana republic in the making, or maybe more accurately, a banana republic for the taking. Because, make no mistake about it, the Supreme Court clearly, directly, and inarguably said that a president exercising his core constitutional powers can sell pardons, $1 million a pop, $1 billion a pop. He can corruptly deliver pardons, and there's not a damn thing law enforcement, prosecutors, or the courts can do about it. That is what Chief Justice Roberts and the radical right-wing bloc of the Supreme Court said. The Supreme Court also said that a president can use his attorney general to jail his political rival and all other perceived enemies. A president, through his attorney general, can jail those folk without charges, without evidence, without any due process. And there's not a damn thing law enforcement, prosecutors, or the courts can do about it. So friends, unless something changes, July 1st, 2024 will go down in history as the day the Supreme Court turned the lights out on honest, honorable governing in America. So what can be done about it? Well, there are a few things. One, Jack Smith can file a petition to reconsider the Supreme Court opinion, the democracy-busting Supreme Court opinion that was just handed down, urged the court to take a step back and rethink what it just did to our nation. Now, given the obvious infallibility that the right-wing Supreme Court justices seem to believe they have, I think it very unlikely that they will reconsider the opinion they just handed down. Here's the other thing that can be done. We the people are now the jurors. The American voters are now the jurors. We are the jury. We're the only jury standing between Donald Trump and dictatorship. Supreme Court approved dictatorship. And we get to go to the polls on November 5th, and we get to vote Donald Trump guilty and get rid of him once and for all. Then he will be tried for his crimes in court after court, in jurisdiction after jurisdiction, and he will be convicted. 3, and this is going to sound like the stuff of Hollywood scripts, but it's a conversation we need to have. President Biden can use his new power that the Supreme Court just bestowed on him. Unfortunately, it is the power of lawlessness. Lawlessness with impunity and immunity. He can use that power to protect American democracy against an avowed day one dictator. Hard to imagine we're having that conversation, but just imagine, friends, if Donald Trump retakes the reins of governmental power and he becomes the dictator he has promised us he will become. He said he's going to be all about revenge. He's going to be all about purging the government of anybody and everybody he doesn't want there. Civil service protections will be gone, and he will install people like, Bannon and Stone and Flynn and Stephen Miller and Kash Patel, Jeffrey Clark, and his other criminal associates. And they will be out for blood, out for revenge. They will be doing nothing but enriching themselves corruptly at the expense of the American people. They will be summarily jailing their opponents and their perceived enemies with no cause and no due process. That is what they will be doing. Can you imagine if that's where we find ourselves and we look back and we acknowledge that President Biden didn't use the powers that the Supreme Court just granted him? Yes, it's the power of lawlessness, but it is actually now a constitutional power that the Supreme Court has given all presidents. Can you imagine if America is converted from a democracy to a dictatorship or a banana republic of sorts, and President Biden decided to forego using the powers he has to protect the American people and to protect our democracy from an aspiring dictator? How will we feel about that? Will we feel secure in the knowledge that he didn't take advantage of the lawlessness that the Supreme Court said is now ingrained in our Constitution, the lawlessness that a chief executive, a president of the United States is allowed to exercise, given the Supreme Court's new interpretation of presidential immunity? Will we feel good about the principle that President Biden exhibited by declining to use that power and giving over our American democracy to dictatorship? I don't know. Friends, as I say, this is not my normal Daily Justice Matters video. I'll be posting that later today, but I wanted to get these thoughts down on paper, on video, and then we'll circle back later because we have plenty more to discuss. But hang in there, friends, and try to turn your anxiety, your frustration, your desperation, your sense of dread, your fear, try to turn it into determination to vote guilty on November 5th. Vote guilty, because we are now the jury. And because justice matters. Friends, I'll see you later today.